how my 25th birthday trip basically turned into me allowing someone else to have a free trip off of my dime, even though it was my birthday. So every year I just tell myself that I want to take a trip for my birthday, and then the year before last it was my 25th birthday, so I'm like, yeah, definitely have to take a really nice trip. So originally me and my best friend was supposed to go because our birthdays are like exactly 1 month apart. She was born October 7th, I was born November 7th. So we're like, yes, we're gonna turn up, but she turned around and got pregnant, so she couldn't even do the trip no more. So me, I'm like, well, I already want to go. We didn't even know where we were going at the time. So I just asked around, asked my cousins, my family, my friends, who wants to come on the 25th birthday trip for me, Yeah, but of course, none of my friends could come or wanted to come. I don't know. I know everybody got their own lives going on, so I don't really be too mad when people can't come to my birthday trips, because most of the time it's usually only me and one other girl anyway. But it's like the way that the trip turned out and the way that I ended up having to pay for the entire thing, I could have brought whoever the hell I wanted to bring. Like, the girl that I went with because she was the only one who was like, yeah, I can go. I can financially go. So for the longest, we were trying to figure out where were we even going to go. We just knew that we wanted to take a trip. So we ended up deciding on Costa Rica because really Costa Rica was the cheapest. So my birthday is November 7th, and we ended up taking the trip like the last week of October. But y'all, why the first week of October, the girl that I went with, she texted me and was like, can we push the trip back 2 weeks? And I'm like, girl, it's a week before the trip. What the hell do you mean, can we push it back 2 weeks, And then she starts going on about her bills are due that week, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, we had been planning this trip like months in advance. And you been knew that your bills were due the same week that we were taking the trip. Like, shit, my bills were due too. But I feel like when you know you about to take a trip, you need to plan accordingly financially. So I was like, no, I'm not canceling it. Like, I already took off work. I already have stuff booked. You want us to lose money by canceling stuff and rescheduling it. Like, that, it didn't make no sense to me. And so, like, of course she was mad. We got into it, of course. But like, my whole thing is, she was one of them girls who be on Instagram popping they shit like they got so much of fucking money, And like, I'm not even gonna say who it was because I'm not even gonna do that. But like, you act like you got all this money, but you couldn't have a couple $100s for a trip. Like, y'all, this trip was cheap. So after we got into it, I didn't even know if like she still was gonna go, but I still was gonna go. Like, it's still my 25th birthday. I'm gonna go. I was gonna go to Costa Rica all by myself. So y'all, so I told y'all she wanted to reschedule. So instead of rescheduling, she was like, oh, well, we need to find cheaper rooms because the hotel we was at was too much for her. So we ended up finding a cheaper room, and like the total room for like 4 to 5 days in Costa Rica, it was like $400, y'all. So the room that we were going to stay at before, it was like a resort, and like the whole total was maybe like $1,500. But mind you, we were splitting it. So she ended up finding this hotel that was $400, and I'm like, okay, we gonna split it, so whatever. So, and then also me, I like to have excursions and stuff booked prior to getting there. So I had excursions and stuff booked, and I was telling her, like the cost, how much it is, how much you need to send me. But I'm not the type to wait on somebody. Like, I'm gonna just go ahead and book it, and then, you send me your funds whenever you get time to send it. Y'all, and this girl was like 4 or 5 years older than me. So I'm like, how you letting my young ass basically give you a free trip for my birthday? And you couldn't even offer to buy me a fucking drink. Like, even when we went out to the club and was out to eat, she didn't even offer like, girl, let me buy your meal or something, like, since it's your birthday and you done bought this whole damn trip. So y'all, this is part 2 of my horrible birthday trip experience. So I was already mad that she made me downgrade the hotel room. Like, she made me pick just some random ass hotel room that was only $400. But mind you, like, Costa Rica is cheap. So the hotel still wasn't a bad hotel. It just wasn't like luxury, the way that I was going for. And so, like I said, we had got into it. So It's like, I understand you have bills and everything. Everybody has bills, but my whole thing is, why wait the week before to try to say that you can't do it, or you need to push it back, and then you want to push it back to basically the week that you get paid. So that makes me feel like, girl, you living paycheck to paycheck when you rocking designer and doing all this other type of shit. Like, how are you living paycheck to paycheck when you on Instagram like you a fucking millionaire, you know? So the day of the trip, I hadn't heard from her because, like I said, we had got into it, and I hadn't heard from her, and she had never sent me like her half of the room or her half of the excursions. So I'm thinking like, yeah, this girl she must not be coming, you know. She must just gonna lose out on her flight, because really the flights were the most expensive things. They were probably like $500, maybe $500. So, and our flights were always at different times, because I was flying out of Baton Rouge and she was flying out of Houston. So my flight was early and her flight was later that evening. So I flew to Costa Rica in my mind thinking like, you might be here for like 4 days by yourself. And I was just, you know, getting mentally prepared to do this on my own. And I was just going to make the best of it. But later that night, she ended up texting me and saying, hey, I'm on the way to the airport, blah, blah, blah. And so, like, we hadn't talked. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm not finna be a bitch. I'm finna enjoy this trip. Like, we're in a whole different country. We in Costa Rica. I'm not finna, you know, do all that. So she texts me, but in my mind, I'm still thinking like, this girl hasn't given me her half of the room. She hasn't given me her half of the excursions. So I was thinking, you know, like, where is she sleeping? Where is she staying at? Because she hasn't paid for nothing. And also, y'all, I got a rental car. I had told her all about that too. And y'all, like, the stuff was super cheap. So it wasn't even like I'm asking for a lot. Like, she probably owed me like $500 to $700 from her half of the room, her half of the rental car, and her half of all of the excursions that we did. So she shows up to Costa Rica, and I have a rental car, so she's expecting me to come pick her up. I feel like I could have been a bitch and be like, bitch, Uber, you know, because you ain't give me no money on this rental car. But I was like, no. I got up out of the bed late at night, and I went and picked her up in Costa Rica, and that's it. Like, I didn't ask her for the money for the room. I didn't ask her for the money for the excursions, because first of all, she was like 4 to 5 years older than me. And I'm just thinking, you know, a grown woman wouldn't come on this trip and not expect to give her half of the trip, you know? I'm thinking like, girl, you got on that plane because you was like, okay, I'm going to give you the money for the trip. But y'all, that girl did not give me shit. That girl did not give me shit. But I was trying to keep my composure throughout the whole trip because I wanted to enjoy the trip. So I didn't ask her for any money. But I'm just thinking, you know, like, and at the end of the day, like, she was my family. So I was like, she gonna offer it to me. She gonna do something. It's like, that girl didn't do nothing. I really want to say she probably didn't even spend nothing on the whole fucking trip. Because with gas in the car, she never offered to pay. On the excursions, you know, the food be included. So it's not like she had to pay for any of the food. She didn't pay for the excursions. And then on the excursions, she was low-key complaining. So I'm just like, girl, you are literally on a free fucking trip. A free trip on my dime for my birthday, and you sitting up on this excursion complaining because your Instagram don't have no service up in the mountains. That's your fucking problem. Like, you so caught up in Instagram, being fake on Instagram, you out of touch with real life. In real life, you couldn't give me any of the money for my trip. But y'all, moral of my story is, I done already told my friends, I'm not planning no more trips. Like, if y'all want to go on a trip with me, you book and I'll send you the money, because I learned my lesson. I will never book anything without getting that person's money first, because that girl who was my family literally showed up on my birthday trip, didn't give me a dime for it, and was complaining about it. She made me downgrade my hotel room because she was acting like, oh, if you downgrade, I'll be able to afford it. You made me downgrade and you couldn't even give me the measly $200 for the room. So it's like, girl, I could have still had my nice room. Then she didn't tell me that she ended up switching her flight. So she ended up leaving a day before me. So y'all know excursions be like 8 hours, 8-hour excursions. So we was up in the mountains all day. So we come back down and she has a flight to catch for 11 p.m. and I'm like tired as hell. I took my shower. I'm in the bed. I'm thinking, you know, like, this girl is at least gonna catch an Uber to airport. She's not about to make me get up out of the bed and bring her to the airport for her to catch her flight, even though she didn't even tell me she was leaving a day earlier. No, of course she was sitting up looking at me like, okay, well, I'm ready to go. I'm like, girl, like, y'all don't understand how hard it was for me to not go off on her. But I literally was like, I'm not gonna go off. This is just a lesson learned. Never again. And but then it's just like so crazy how she was older than me and how she be on Instagram like she got all this money in the world. But it's like you couldn't even give your little younger family member money for her birthday trip. Like, if I would have known that trip would have been completely on my dime, I would have invited anybody. I would have invited a friend that I actually would have had a good time with, you know, if I was gonna be paying for the whole thing, because I paid for the whole thing. But that was not my intention. I didn't mean to do that. I really thought that the girl was gonna give me her half of the money whenever she got there. I didn't want to be like, yeah, girl, so where my money at, you know? I was like, okay, we grown adults. If you know that you haven't paid your half for the trip, why do I have to beg you for it? But yeah, never again, you know. Like I said, if somebody want to go on a trip with me, y'all do the planning and I'll send my coins, because I'm never going through that stress again. And then, y'all, it's crazy because she turned right around. I guess I didn't learn my lesson, but we was going to go do a spring break trip. And I guess I didn't learn my lesson. So she turned right around and did the whole shit again for spring break. And we really ended up falling out over $60, y'all, because she didn't want to send me her $60 for the Airbnb for spring break. And it's like, all I'm gonna say is them girls on social media who act like they got it, who wear designer from head to toe, they ain't really got it like that, y'all. They ain't really got it. They live in paycheck to motherfucking paycheck.
Going on a girls trip always end bad, and I will forever go on a solo date trip with my boyfriend every year for my birthday. I felt like I did it all right. I booked the cruise in advance 5 months prior, sorted out the pricing, booked the flights. Friend number one, a month before the trip, starts wigging out. Like, oh, I talked to my mom. I don't know if I should go. So I'm telling my best friend that already told me ahead of time that she couldn't go. I'm telling her the situation, like, the girl don't know if she want to go. I don't want her to ruin the mood, like, da-da-da-da. My best friend invites herself and said, girl, fuck that. I just got into a settlement. I can go in her place anyway. It'll be fun. So I'm so happy. Like, oh, my real best friend coming. We're going shopping. We're getting ready for the trip. I'm so excited. The night before, so at this point, my friend that was originally supposed to go, she's like, should I go? Should I not go? I convinced her not to go at this point. Because I'm like, if you're confused, I'm just going to convince her not to go, because my other best friend that I'm really close with is going to go, and everything's going to be fine and everything's going to work out. So my best friend ended up paying the money to, or whatever, you know, get her spot, secure her spot. And then tell me why the night before the trip, the night before I flight to Miami, because you got to fly to the port, my best friend said she talked to her man and she feel like she shouldn't go on the cruise. So I'm like doing whatever to convince my friend, like, hey, like, why would you not go? Like, why would you not go? Like, the night before. Anyways, I couldn't convince her to go. So now I'm finding a alternate to replace the alternate. So she's trying to find her birth certificate, trying to get her, she literally got 8 hours to prepare to go on a cruise. Anyway, she ends up making it. Then I realized I booked like the wrong flights on American. She ended up getting us some flights to Delta and pieced that shit up. To this day, I don't know how she did it, but we ended up making it to that damn port, honey. She asked me, she was like, how much do I need to pay for, you know, old girl spot? So at this point, I said, you don't got to pay nothing, because she forfeit at the last minute. And when we called, they said that you can't get your money back from a cruise if you don't put insurance on it or whatever. I called them, they wasn't giving her money back, and I don't have the $500 to give because you didn't know if you was gonna come. So like, I land in Miami, I'm arguing with friend number one, because she's like, why would you sit here and let her take my spot for free? I'm like, well, you said you wasn't going, you forfeit your money. I mean, if you call Carnival and tell them to get your money back, then you could do that. But as far as me making her pay, I'm not doing that, because she didn't have the same courtesy of getting everything ready. Then alternate number two is like, hey, let me know when they send the money back for the flight. I'm like, they don't even give money back for the flight. But I end up disputing the flight, and they end up getting my money back. So I gave her money back, her little $300 back. At this point, I'm just irritated, because it's just like, I just feel like everybody was just so inconsiderate. No one cares that it's my birthday, right? But then the story gets worse. So then we're at the Bahamas, and my friend that pieced up the flights is like, okay, I'm gonna do your makeup, I'm gonna do everything, we're gonna do photos, all that. We get there, she starts having a nasty ass attitude. She said that she was pregnant. Didn't even know she was pregnant. So she started wigging out because she didn't have a towel to use for the shower. But at this point, I'm just fed up, and we just getting into it. And she's like, I'm about to call a ride home. I'm about to get somebody to drive to come get me, and just on the phone acting like she about to go. So then me and the other friend that's been the most nice and easy to work with this whole time, we're in the rental car. She pulls back the seat. My phone was in the crack. Didn't even think about it. And my phone shatters. So now I feel like my birthday is ruined because I can't take no pictures. My makeup is not done. Everybody's saying I'm owing them money. I done convinced this girl to stop going just for my best friend to, punk out the night before we leave. My friend that skedaddled and was able to hop on a flight in 8 hours is pregnant, and she got mood swings. My other friend that gave me no type of problems ended up accidentally breaking my phone and starts crying about it because now I'm irritated. I'm like, can we go half for you to get my phone fixed? And it's just shambles. Then me and the friend that broke my phone is at the casino. We're both helping. We both playing. She won $100. Do you think that she helped me pay my phone, get my phone fixed, or you think she kept that $100? This is the thing. A lot of women are selfish and inconsiderate, moody, and I just feel like the more girls you add to a girl trip, the more stressful that shit is. If I cannot go with my man, I'm not going with nobody. And to this day, these same friends be like, can we go out of town together? And I just be like, hell fucking no.